mic, so you can start lining up after while I'm asking Jim a question. That way, not everybody's trying to make him run over each other. We'll see.
3, 2, 1, go!
Anyway, again, welcome to Jim for joining us again this year. We're thrilled you're back. Thank you. And you can see you've got about 800 of your closest friends out here.
Yes.
That's right.
So, my question for you is the first lines of your books. Do you make an effort to make them so special, to make them something that stands out, or is it just something that kind of happens naturally?
I can't start the book until I got a good first line. It just won't go. I can have a great story idea, but I don't have a good first line now. Yeah, won't use it. Gotta have a good first line.
Okay, so in other words,
yeah.
Yes, you've been planning. Well, I don't think that probably comes as a surprise to anyone, but I was kind of curious if what the process for that was. Do we have a question here? I know there are a lot of you in here, so we'll get right to those.
So I have a question. Thank you for being here. Did Matt kill himself from the shotgun, or did Matt kill himself out of debt?
Okay, I can't understand you because the speakers are aimed out there. Try and go a little bit, articulate a little so I can hear you.
Did Matt kill himself from the shotgun, or did he kill himself out of debt?
Did Matt get what from the shotgun?
Heal himself.
He healed himself.
Oh, I'm not going to answer you those questions. No, Harry's personal accounting with Matt, that's between the two of them. And as far as Faye debts go, I'm not going to make any comments and see how those play out.
We're having technical issues, so here we go. Okay, that's all right.
Man, I can hear you better like that, honestly.
All right. So was Matt born fully human, changeling, or was she Fae originally?
Well, you'll have to ask her about that. Hey, don't ask questions about story that's still coming. Jeez.
Okay. I'm pretty sure you're not going to answer this, but have we met Kyle like his alternate ego?
Okay, we met whose alternate ego?
Kyle.
Powell.
Okay. Again, jeez, guys. Yeah, don't ask me questions that I'm gonna make you pay me to answer. I mean, points for trying, points for effort. I feel you. I have DM'd many players over the years. I understand this.
So this is the burning questions panel.
Hi, I'm Travis.
Hey, Travis.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, back in the 30s or 40s, Coca-Cola changed the way that Santa was portrayed in their artwork.
Mm-hmm.
How does Vanderon feel about being kind of tubby now? Two,
it's annoying. Oh God. Yeah. I mean, because when you put it the way that Dresden puts it in the books, then suddenly that makes sense. Odin as Santa Claus makes sense. But then when you look at the Coca-Cola, not as much. But he can be a little. He rolls his eyes at that. But what's he gonna do? He's Santa Claus.
the other part of that question is, Harry loves Coca-Cola. Given the two convergences, does that make Coca-Cola a vassal of Winter?
Oh. Honestly, I think it's more likely for Winter to be a subsidiary of Coca-Cola.
So we know there's a link between Vanderon, Odin, and Santa Claus. Have any other characters are there any we've met that might have a similar link?
Are there any other secret characters that might have done other things in history? Really? Yeah, in my head, history especially is very much intertwined with the Dresden Files supernatural world and the Dresden Files universe. There's lots of other people who've done other things. There were Knights of the Sword fighting in the American Revolution. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff. The 7 Years' War in my head. Oh my God, it's such a mess. Dresden Files style, because that's when the Merlin and Ebenezer were the young hotheads that were out, kicking butt, and they did it in very different ways and on different sides of the war. Which neither one of them are supposed to be doing, because the White Council's got this whole thing about wizards do not do politics, because we watched what happened to Camelot and it was awful. But I don't know if I'm ever going to get to write those or not. It'd be fun. I'd love to write the story of hunting down Kemmler. That would be cool. Because it would be like 60 years long, right? Like it starts right a little bit after the end of the Civil War and goes all the way through World War I. Where he was out there operating. But anyway, but that's for future stuff. When I'm paying off my gambling debts.
More Scooby snacks.
Hey, so in the early days of the book, you made the big deal that Harry Dresden was the only practicing wizard in the Chicago Yellow Pages. How does he advertise now that they're no longer a thing?
Oh, he doesn't have to advertise anymore. Now he's the guy everybody knows. He likes to brag about the Yellow Pages, but yeah, it's a thing.
But what about Elaine Mallory, since she stole his stick?
I'm sorry, what?
Elaine Mallory, she stole his stick.
She did, but she's got like a whole different sales pitch for her stuff, She's much more of a life coach for extreme circumstances. Sure.
I just reread Changes.
I'm sorry.
I was wondering, the red court vampires that were caught by the goblins, did they survive the curse?
Oh, you would have had to have been like in the equivalent of like a NORAD style Cheyenne Mountain shelter to survive that, which is not an answer. Hey man.
Hello. You've mentioned in the past that you outlined the series after being told that the first book would sell.
Yes.
What's the biggest divergence we've had from that outline at the point we are in the process?
Butters, probably. Butters is probably the best version. Yeah, he was. Hope will never die! He was somebody who was just supposed to be a one-off character. He was supposed to be. I was writing a particularly gruesome ME scene, and I wanted somebody there to add a little levity to it. So I created Butters. Actually, I didn't really create Butters. I stole him from the movie The Prophecy. Only I dyed his hair black instead of red and made him Jewish and said, "Okay, go." But yeah, so Butters is the biggest diversion. I never really planned on him being a big character, and then my editor got in the way. So.
What was your inspiration behind the Cinder Spires to be the odd man out?
Well, the inspiration behind Cinder Spires was I was driving home from a LARP on a Sunday morning. Right after we'd killed the big bad guy about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we'd been dividing. We were arguing over Treasure Vision until 4, and by then the sun was getting light. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not sleeping in the sleeping bag. Everybody get in the car. We're going home. I'm sleeping in my own bed. And so I was driving home, and it was a real heavy Midwest overcast, serious thunderstorm territory that we were driving through. Except over here on the right, I was driving north, and over here on the right where the sun was coming up, it was all clear and blue. And then starting about right here in my field of vision, it just black clouds all the way over to there. And then a lightning storm started as this storm front was coming west towards me. And it was like this big thing on lightning legs walking towards you. And I'm like, oh, this is just awful. And I turned up 9 Inch Nails as loud as I could go. Because I was listening to Downward Spiral, nice and clanky industrial sounds. And then I raced the thunderstorm to the junction with I-70 so that I could turn east and get ahead. And so while I was doing that and listening to 9 Inch Nails, the first scene from the first book just kind of popped up in my head. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm doing that next. So there you go. Yeah, so sleep deprivation, running around the woods like a crazy person, driving too fast in dangerous weather. That's how I got it. Sunwise. Be a writer, kids. Okay.
Hello. You mentioned prior that you're possibly looking to write 24 novels in total, and I was wondering if you were expecting to write them in 10, 20 years, 30 years? What were your goals? Short term,
There's some things I'm not going to share with you yet. The Dresden Files, I'm planning on, we're going to have 20 case books like we've had so far, and then like a big old apocalyptic trilogy at the end to finish the whole thing off. It might be 21 or 22 or 19, I don't know. I gotta get everything set up though, I'm working on that. And then the big old trilogy, and then we'll be done with it, and good. That'll be a fun story, neat. But I don't know how long it's going to take, man. I got things to do. There's like these steampunk books, and people keep wanting me to show up to conventions and things. Normally I say things like, if I wasn't here for all of you, the next one would be done by now. But at this point, I'm waiting on the editor. So. What's up, man?
So the agnostic Knight of the Cross. You obviously could have done the Protestant Knight of the Cross. You could have done the Islamic Knight of the Cross. Why agnostic?
Why not? My point is at least in the Dresden Files world and in my own personal viewpoint, people are fickle and people fail. People fall aside. God doesn't need people to believe in Him. I think God believes in people and will still be around. I mean, even if you're the agnostic guy, I think God cares about you. If you are somebody, if you are, I'm fundamentally a Christian, but somebody else who's Islamic, yeah, God cares about them. The Hindus, God cares about them. We can go down this list like this, but I think you see the pattern. And so for the Knights of the Cross, that's mainly what I was interested in showing. It's like, yeah, God is real, and God loves you and cares, and sometimes sends people to kick the ass of monsters.
The perfect guy for that.
Yeah.
When Dresden threatened to use necromancy against the Black Court, was that something you learned directly from the Word of Himmler, like it was a part of the book, or was it just kind of you learned more about it by learning more necromancy?
Oh no, Himmler had like a recipe: how to make a Black Court vampire your bitch. That was practically the name of the spell. Dresden's like, oh yeah, I see how that works now. Yeah, I can screw you up. We do horrible things to him. Roll 3 dice 6. That's how many sanity points you lose.
Okay, so you have this entire room hanging on basically your every word. How on earth do you keep your ego in check when you have such a
That's easy. All of this stuff here happens to Famous Guy Jim. Famous Guy Jim is on the stage with you today. Famous Guy Jim can talk to people, he can make jokes, he can be charming, make eye contact, remember people's names, and generally function like a human being. Real Jim would not be in this room. Real Jim would come into the door of this room and look around and go, yeah, there's too many people here. and turn around and go. So, listen, and at the end of the day, I play D&D with myself and write it down. I eavesdrop on my imaginary friends' conversations and transcribe them. I write ridiculous wizard books. I'm not contributing much. It's like, here, have a good time, get away from things for a while. That'll be $7, please. That's kind of how I work. Maybe $10, please. Whatever it is. They were 7 when I started. Okay.
Hey. Hi. I was wondering, which do you find more satisfying when you run across it online? Whenever people are doing theories and talking to each other, is it more fun to see somebody with a theory that's right and everybody says that they're out of their minds? Or is it more fun when somebody has a really popular theory and everybody's behind it and you know that they're dead wrong?
Man, that's a good question. That's tough. I don't know. I enjoy it when somebody's dead right and everybody's yelling at them, and I just kind of want to look at that person and go, "Hang in there, buddy. This is another book." What really bugs me is when I read the crack theories that just break my brain. Because there are such incredible crack theories on the Dresden Files flying around out there, and some of them I just kind of. I don't even want to think about them. I get a little skip in my head every time I hit the memory. It's like that's my own personal version of an agloshi right there. That I've seen with my true sight of some of these crack theories. I think about them and then the other thing that disturbs me is some of the fan fiction. There's some really unlikely slash fiction of the Dresden Files. I'm going to lay that out there and leave it at that. Hi. my goodness.
Let me tell you, the men at Sing Sing love your books.
The men at Sing Sing.
Stolen books, I don't know. So I came here as
well, good, I'm glad I like it.
And my personal question is Mr. ever going to get his own side story?
Is Mr. going to get his own side story? I could probably write a good one now because I actually know cats now because there's enough of them. Because we have 4 cats. We have 3 Maine Coons, and then there was a little feral cat that got born under the porch. Her and her brother did. Well, her and her brother survived. And so we trapped them, and her brother socialized, so we got him out to a family where he's spoiled rotten all the time now. And he's like a Siamese looking cat, he's gorgeous. And then his sister's a little tuxedo cat who's this big, full grown. And so we named her Zatanna. And she didn't like people, but she bonded to our cats. And so we're like, okay, you can hang with our cats and that'll be fine. And then eventually she started going, okay, human, pet me. she kind of walks up to me and goes, "Mah!" Like that. Pay attention to you before you kill me. I probably could write a good cat story now, but I mean, Mister's a cat, man. He's taking naps. He's an elderly cat at this point. He's just stretching out in the sun.
Hi. So I was wondering, when you kind of set up, like, I don't know how to call it, the morality system in the Dresden Files, like, in, other urban fantasy settings, it's like they have, like, laws of magic, but it's sort of like the Wizards Council came up with it and enforced it. It's like made up by people. But in your universe, it's like, if you break the laws of magic, it, like, taints your very soul. It's kind of, like, inherent to the universe itself. And, like, some of them, in other books, like, monsters, like, they can redeem themselves. And I know Thomas kind of has that, but, like, with the Red Court vampires, it's like, once you're a vampire, you're just that. So,
well, you could potentially walk into the sun or something, but yeah.
So I guess I was wondering, like, why you made those choices when you're kind of setting up the world as sort of like objective morality versus kind of like.
Well, you just said it yourself. Choices. Thomas didn't choose to be born a white court vampire. He chooses what he's gonna be, and as long as you were somebody who was making choices like that, there's always a chance of redemption. You can decide, you know what, I'm gonna be a better person today than I was yesterday. That's possible. All these and a bunch of these other, like every single Red Court vampire chose to kill someone so they could slake their thirst. Every single Red Court vampire said to himself, you know what, I'm more thirsty than that guy needs to be alive. That's a choice. It matters in the Dresden Files.
Yeah, it does.
So does that mean you could break the laws of magic and come back from that?
You could break the laws of magic and
like choose to redeem yourself?
Well, I mean, the laws of magic get broken all the time. Some of them are for, the ones that the White Council makes, those are pretty broad. There's only some of it that's actually really going to start twisting you into a horrible something or other. But the White Council is, they're real thorough in trying to control wizards. They want to keep wizards from, blinking reality out of existence. They have some concerns, and they'd rather be more careful than less careful. That's just sort of how they roll. Yeah.
Hi. So in terms of writing advice, I hear a lot of authors talk about how they'll break pieces of themselves off and use them as bases for their characters. Is that true with Harry or any of the other characters in the Dresden Files?
That's not something I'm going to talk to you about. That's some pretty deep stuff there. That's real personal. Ultimately, everything I put in the book is me because I was the one writing it. That's ultimately everything that goes in there is me. As far as pieces of my own personal self, yeah, they're all over. And it has to be. You can't make art without putting yourself in it. And that's how it works. You break off a piece of your soul and you put it someplace else. And you look at people and then you show it to people and say, isn't it pretty? And they go, And you go, that's my soul. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you have to. And it's terrible because you read it and you go, gee, this is really tearing me up, all this stuff about Harry's dad. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you kind of have to. And it's all over, and you don't even get to pick which bit of your soul or when you get to break it off. You just suddenly realize, oh, there it is in the book.
Thank you. That's
Go.
actually what I would be on.
Hey, hi.
All right, so when I read the 12th book, I got that speech that Harry gave to Mab about what he would do to attain power. And I'm not going to ask you to divulge what he's going to do to get more power, but I was wondering if the Dark Hollow would work in the Never Never.
Oh yeah, you can pull that off anywhere. The location is not important as far as that goes. You could do a dark. Harry could go to the Never Never and pull off a Dark Hollow if he wanted.
I was just curious because immortality is a factor there, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he could pull it off there. He'd have to have a bunch of people, to kill.
Minor technical.
It came out of the book of the Big Bad Necromancer, guys. What do you want to do? They kill people.
The title kind of gives it away, doesn't it?
Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing? So, I came to your work through the Audible series, through the wonderful work of Spike, and I was wondering, when will the audiobook drop for the new book in regards to the new book release date, the Audible release date? Will Marcus come back for?
I don't know. The audiobooks are difficult for the Dresden Files because we got Marsters on them, and Marsters is like one of the more popular in-demand guys in Hollywood, so they kind of have to bow to his schedule as opposed to him coming to theirs. So I'll know when they tell me, and I'm not sure when that'll be. Is it warm in here, or is it just me?
Hello.
Hi.
Well, as an older woman, I'm interested in McCoy. Best of McCoy.
Okay.
Dresden is sexy and I don't know, 20 years ago I was doing. So, is there a way that you might write something about the old dude?
It's possible. Although if I wrote McCoy, I would go back to where he was like wrecking stuff and getting in trouble all the time, and then write that guy. He was way worse than Dresden.
That would have been my fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, Dresden's the kind of guy who, like, yeah, he gets into trouble and stuff, but what he really wants to do is be at home on the couch reading with his dog.
Yep.
That's really kind of what he wants to spend his life. McCoy was the kind of guy who would, just kind of look around after work one day and say, "You want to go get in a fight?" And then they would go do that. So it was much different.
I would never be able to follow that up correctly. Just curious, if Bob ever found himself online in, say, a online game such as Second Life, what would he choose as his avatar?
What would he choose as what?
As his avatar to represent him in the game.
Oh, as Bob's avatar? Just be a penis with legs. He would do what like every 14-year-old boy would do. He would just pick something. He would take one of those. Yeah. Hey, man.
Hey. So in terms of Gaius Sextus, and Johnny Marcone are described very similarly.
They are.
What was the inspiration behind that?
Marcone was always, I always wrote Marcone. The model I kind of had in my mind for him in the background was just that he was a medieval baron. By the standards of the medieval times, Marcone would have been a highly respected, competent, and just and fair medieval baron if he ran his barony exactly like he runs the mob in Chicago. So when I was building him, I used the model of a medieval feudal lord and what the ideal medieval feudal lord would behave like. And so I extended that to Gaius Sextus, only he didn't quite live up to many of them because he was kind of a weasel. But I wanted to write him as that weasel you kind of admire a bit. It's like, yeah, you caused all this trouble, but damn, you did it with style. But that's why.
Thank you.
Sure. Hello.
Hello. Michael Carpenter is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction.
Thank you very much.
I want to know, what was your inspiration for creating such an awesome paladin of awesomeness?
From what I could tell from the fiction that was around me up to the point where I was writing Michael, there were only two kinds of Christians that appeared in fiction, and that was they were either lunatics, hypocrites, there was three, or happy dumb sheep, and that was the only way they were portrayed, and I was tired of that, so I thought I'd do it my way.
Like you.
I didn't do it for you. I'm glad you like it. I knew you said thank you, but I didn't. Okay, I didn't do it for you. I'm glad you like it. Okay. Sure. Hi.
Hi. When you actually settle down to write and you're trying to get in the mindset, do you have a particular playlist you use, and how does that vary across the different series you write?
Oh, excellent question. I do. I used to make up a playlist for each book. Now I generally have like theme songs for characters that I keep in mind. Harry's theme song is "Gone Away" by Offspring, for example, and there's a bunch of other ones. There's a cover of Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You" that is done in minor. That is another character that I really love. If you look for a minor version of "I Will Always Love You," I forget the name of the guy who performs it. It's amazing. But it's like the most angsty, this is definitely my RP character's story sort of song, I mean, everybody can say that about their RP character. Oh my gosh. Yes, sir?
Hey there. So Cinder Spires, you've got Albion, Aurora, and I think you said you got the Olympian Fair coming up, which is going to be like Olympus or something, I guess?
So Olympia, yeah.
Okay, so how many spires are there, and can you tell us their names?
There's dozens and dozens. They're scattered all over the world. Not all of them have contact with all the others. Some of them don't contact anybody. They stay isolated. It's a whole confusing thing. But when I get to the next book is called the Olympian Affair, and essentially there is a meeting happening to try and head off the war that's coming between Albion and Aurora. So that's what the Olympian Affair will be all about. Which is really all it really is everybody is angling to try and get the best allies. Everybody's showing up to pick their team for dodgeball.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Oh no.
Hi.
Hi.
So, I have a super serious question.
Oh God.
Now that Butters is a Jedi, do you think we will maybe get a terrible prequel series with him?
That's probably not more my speed to do a terrible follow-up trilogy. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not in favor of the new ones. If you like them, great, we'll have a good time. But I'm gonna go see the next Star Trek thing, I guess. I don't know. Hey man.
Hey. So you have 15 books of history to reference in.
Tell me about it.
How do you make a book accessible to someone who hasn't read the entire series without being weighed down by the massive weight of this character's history and that character's history and this event?
Every story has to be its own story. Even in the Dresden Files, the story needs to embrace the problems and the conflicts that you set up in that story. So, I mean, ideally, anybody who comes into the Dresden Files at any point should be able to pick it up and have an intelligible idea of what's going on. They should be able to go, okay, I get this story. I mean, there's a bunch of parts of it I didn't get because he didn't reference it, but yeah, the story, I got it. It was good. They should be able to go along for the ride and have a good time. The best way to do that is, the best way to do that is to make sure your characters are really consistent all the way through. I mean, you have to have them grow as well, but you also have to really do a lot of hard work to keep each character grounded in terms of what they are, so that not only is the reader sure what's going on whenever that character comes on stage, but that I know what's going on when that character comes on stage. It's like, okay, this character, I've got Butters coming on the stage now, and I need a bunch, I need these 6 different things to happen to make the story go forward, and so Butters is going to handle this one and that one, and I've got to pick the right ones for Butters to handle, or else he's not really Butters, and then it gets more and more confusing as people go along. So. It's partly homework. It's partly just being buried in it, and this is what I've been doing my adult life. And it's partly Priscilla.
Yeah.
Priscilla Spencer, who is been a beta reader for me for a good long while, has a freakish knowledge of continuity that is highly annoying and extremely useful. It is.
Thank you.
Very well.
Hello. I'm one of the people who not only read books but play the Dresden Files role-playing game by Evil Hat Games.
Nerd.
And I was wondering, I figured they basically read your books, then quantified the characters into NPC stats, and then let you see them. Which ones did they get right off the bat, and which ones did you say, oh, you got it all wrong because there's some stuff you didn't know, and you told them to revise?
Well, see, here's the thing.
Oh, and can you tell my GM to give me one refresh?
Okay. Here's the thing. As far as when they designed the game, Fred went and designed the Dresden Files game off of my writing process. He couldn't get it wrong. You know, when he put the game together, he used the same a lot of the same writing craft stuff that I use when I'm putting stories together. As far as the stats go, I've got no idea what stats mean in Fate. I haven't played Fate. It's a Dresden Files game, and I can't play a Dresden Files game. It's ridiculous. Imagine trying to be my GM. I'm a power gaming weasel. You know? So, no, it isn't that way. I'll write it that way next book if I have to. Yeah, but if I'm the GM, it's too much like work. So I can't play the Dresden Files role-playing game. I'm like the one person who can't. So I don't know about the stats of those characters. But I mean, as far as putting the characters together, though, it looks solid to me. I worked with them for a long time. There was a whole lot of talk. Fred had some Nye Priscilla talents on his game team in putting things together. So what would happen would be they'd send me a big letter, and I'd spend about 4 hours answering the letter and talking about the cosmology and just sort of talking about the overall entire shape of the Dresden Files that you guys haven't seen yet, because it hasn't come up in the story. And then they would go and they'd start playing with that. They'd come back 2 weeks later and say, okay, we have more questions. Of course you do. And then we do it again. We did that for about 6 months. And then they put the game together and they said, what do you think? And I said, there's a bunch of stuff in here you're going to have to take out. You're going to have to take this out and this out and that out. And they're like, why? So it's because I haven't written it yet. But we predicted it was coming? Yes, you should be able to from the stuff I've given you earlier on. And so that's comforting to know that people can, they can figure out where the direction the series is going by being told about the world and how it works. And that was very encouraging to me. I felt good about that.
Did they take it out?
Oh yeah, they took it out. Yeah, they definitely took it out. Cool, man, thanks. Hey.
First of all, thanks for writing my family into the Dresden Files. I'm a carpenter.
Excellent. Yeah, sorry about that.
As an aspiring author, sometimes I use, just when I get stuck, I'll just use dice. You said you play D&D and things like that. Do you ever, like, when you get stuck, just like, oh, that was a terrible love check? Let me see how it works if he just absolutely fails this one.
Oh, God, no, I would never. I mean, I could do that for some things, but for the most part, by the time I'm writing an action scene, it's scripted. We got stuff to do. There's no time for random stuff. And to a degree, well, I think it's possible to use it, and I think it can be good, especially if you're stuck and you need inspiration of some kind. Then embracing ideas you normally wouldn't embrace because you randomly generate is a good way to kind of knock ideas loose and get going. Gosh, I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, by the time I'm actually doing it though, yeah, things are pretty tight. I don't have time for that. Art is all about separating meaning, signal from noise. That's what art is. And so the more noise you throw into your own stuff, the more you're kind of working against yourself. So I try and be very focused and purposeful with everything I'm doing in the books.
Fair enough. Quick yes or no question.
Okay.
Are there cats in Spire Olympia?
In what?
Cats in Spire Olympia.
Oh, obviously, yes. Sweet. Yeah, there's like different breeds of cats in each spire, so they can look different and be cool. But they're very separated ecosystems, right? And when you have the same animal in separated ecosystems, it goes in different directions. So there's cats elsewhere, and they're like other breeds, so we get everybody's favorites.
Hey Jim, Dresden Files has been around for 20 years now.
In that time, they've been
Well,
theory
20 years April 1st next year, but yeah.
True. In that time, they've been theory crafted to death. Is there anything, any Easter egg or secret plot point that has been totally missed?
I don't know.
How do I know the answer? I don't track everything. You know, I mean, I actually no, I don't wish I could. I don't track I don't track everything, and I'm happy that way. I mean, I don't really follow that too much. I'm busy making it. I don't have time to look around and see what everybody else is doing around it.
Fair enough.
But I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer. But I mean, even if the answer was no, you've all. I mean, here, this is the right answer. No, you've all figured it out. Everything's done. The rest of this is just pro forma. Might as well go home.
More of separating the signal from
generally speaking, from what I can tell, somebody has figured out every part of the big picture. Nobody's figured out a significant part of the big picture, but somebody's picked up almost everything. It's just a matter of fact whether you put it together the right way around. Hey!
Greetings, Jim. I know you're super busy with the Cinder Spires and the Dresden Files, but is there any chance you'll pick up or do a continuation of the Codex Alera?
Codex Alera is a cool world. I might go back to it one day. I've got a couple of points I could go back. The first idea was to go back about 150 years in the future and see kind of the fallout of the first series and how it changed the world and what's different there. I've got 3 ideas for it. That's the first one. The second one is to do the first class of the new Cursor Academy, which features like that Aaron is now the teacher. You know, Krobogot and Batman is now the teacher of all the new spies, and we have like the first Kanem Cursor and the first Marat Cursor and so on. And that would be fun. And then the other one I could do is I already wrote the humans and the Zerg, so I could do the Protoss and have them come in. Look, man, I'm a nerd. I can't skate. Hi.
Hey. Okay, 2-part question. First, what kind of Scooby snacks is Brew like?
What kind of Scooby snacks is Brew like? I get him. You know the bark boxes. They make one specific to pit bulls with super tough toys called a bully box, and it comes with lots of snacks. But mostly the snack he likes most is bacon. I have bacon for breakfast every morning, and he comes in. He's my buddy. We start off the day with him just like laying his head on my shoulder and looking over my shoulder at my plate. You know, so that's kind of how we do.
Okay, second question. Are Selkies and owlbears existing in the Dresden Files?
Selkies and owlbears? Well, in the Dresden Files, yeah, because if you've got access to the Never Never, you've got essentially range to whatever you can imagine. So yeah, you could go to the Never Never and find Harry could go to the Never Never and find an owlbear, bring it back and go, aha! Mad wizard, right there! Yeah. Who's got 2 thumbs and just created an owlbear? This guy.
I didn't you guys think you just read that because of the way he said it?
Yeah.
So in the Dresden verse, you've got a wide variety of characters and side characters and sidekicks and backup characters. So aside from Harry Dresden, which character is your favorite to write, and which is your least favorite to write?
Least favorite to write. Start with that because that one's easier. Charity's very difficult to write for me. I don't know if she's my least favorite, but she's difficult because she's tough for me to understand. Let me think who else. As far as least favorites go, if I didn't like them, I wouldn't write them. But as far as favorite character other than Harry, it varies from day to day, depends what kind of mood I'm in. If I'm feeling particularly puerile and in need of inspiring chaos, it's Bob. If I need to get things done, it's Marcone or Mab. You know, one of those characters. I love writing Mab though, because in many ways she's kind of a mystery to me. So a lot of things I find out about Mab I don't find out until I've written them, and then I go, wow, that's deep. and I should tell the author something. You wrote that. That's confusing. Hey, man.
As you've obviously gone through and read a lot of the Dresden fan everything on the internet, has there ever been something that you've found on there that you hadn't quite thought of yourself or thought, hey, that was a really good idea, and incorporated it into the story?
Probably. I can't think of anything specific because once the book is written down and done, it's out of my head and gone. I've got the next one to think about. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's been from any of the online discussions, but I think from but lots of times from talking to friends about it. You know, I mean, I've done stuff like, you know, driving along in the car on a road trip and just kind of, you know, nobody said anything for 45 minutes, and suddenly I go, Justine's pregnant. And then I kind of get this, yeah, that's nice, Jim. I do this stuff all the time. I start talking in the middle of a conversation that I've been having with myself with somebody else as though they heard the conversation. I'm sorry, Kitty. Where'd you go? But I'm sorry. Stuff like that happens. Oh, there she is. But yeah, I mean, you know, chat about stuff. It's normally not. It's normally not online discussion because by the time I'm going to online discussion, I'm not really doing I'm not really in a creative mindset. I'm in famous guy. You know, I'm talking to people mindset because I have to pretend to be somebody else to be able to talk to people. The rest of the time, I'm just sort of at home. You know, honestly, this weekend, if I could have just stayed on the couch with the dog all weekend, that would have been amazing. But also coming here is fun too. But in my heart of hearts, that's what heaven looks like: is a comfortable couch and a really good book and a dog and just waiting on Kitty to get home from work. That is a wonderful time. I'm a boring person.
Well, what do you read?
What? Oh yeah, Parks and Rec, obviously. I think I've watched all the way through Park and Rec like 11 times now. I think we're on 11 times. That's our stress TV show. When there's stress or depression, Park and Rec goes on because it's hard to be stressed or depressed at Park and Rec. Hey,
hello again. I have a question. Murphy's my favorite character, and finding out that she has a large family of cops and ex-husbands and
Yeah, big Irish cop families in Chicago, real weird.
So, I was just curious about if we're ever going to see them again, or what their opinion is on her new employment situation.
Oh well, insider. Okay, I can talk about this because it's not really in the books, and I doubt it's gonna come out anywhere anytime soon. So I'll just go ahead and tell you. But yeah, when she retired, I mean, it was under a cloud. It was under a big cloud. And that had to give her entire family pause. And so it would have, that sort of thing tends to enhance and exaggerate the existing relationships to kind of the next level of whatever that relationship is. So if you're just sort of annoyed with somebody, then you just don't like them anymore after they've done something like that. Or if you like somebody and you decide you're going to keep liking them when they're under a cloud like that, you like them a lot, they're your brother, you know, like that. That's the kind of thing that happens. So she's become a big, not exactly a pariah, but a point of contention in her own family. So she's been avoiding them a lot because people get in fights when she's there. They also get in fights when she's not there because they're free to talk about her. So I mean, it's an Irish Catholic family. There's all kinds of conflicting things going on. Sure. Hey man.
Hi Jim. All right. So with the licensing quagmire no longer being such a tepid pit of despair, who would you picture as your ideal dream cast for a feature set of films? For Dresden.
Ooh, ideal dream cast. Oh, that's different. That's different. Let's see. We'll get Starbuck to play Murphy. Why not? It should be great. And then my second choice is Kristen, not Kristen Bell. No, the one from Pitch Perfect. That Kristen. No, now I'm thinking it's not Kristen Chenoweth, that's somebody else. Who am I thinking of?
Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick, thank you. Anna Kendrick is my second pick for Murphy because I would just write the snarkiest lines for her constantly. I mean, she would just be doing nothing but flaying Harry's ego left and right. That would be what she was doing. For Dresden, well, I don't know. We might have to find a new guy for Dresden. I can't think of anybody. And I can't go get young Bruce Campbell, so. For Thomas, we'll go ahead and let Loki do that one. You know, we'll give him a better deal than Disney, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, and the funny part is I've been playing the casting game for real with professional people. And so there's all these considerations in Hollywood that go beyond just, how do they act and what do they look like. It's all well, which studio do they work for? How long are they contracted? And do they get along with this person and that? And I mean, it's a very intricate network. There's a reason why they have like people who specialize in casting, because it's such a minefield. But yeah, I kept listing people that I would want for it, and it sounded like Lord Jerkface that Arya stabbed his eyes out in Game of Thrones. Too old, too old, too old. You know, like that. But I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Hey, in the Cinder Spires, once the cats give a person a name, will they ever change it if it becomes really inappropriate, like Tiny is?
Oh yeah, absolutely they will. Yeah, just like the Native American. If you do something to distinguish yourself that is worthy of a name, whether it is something bold and great or something really boneheaded, you get the name. That's the way that works. You get named after the things that you've done and the choices you've made. And it's the same with the cats. You know, they'll eventually, if he acts like a jerk, they'll roll his eyes and give him some stupid name. I mean, he'll still be an honorary cat, but they'll just be snide to it. Hello.
Hi. I just wanted to first of all say that your book series, the Dresden Files, is my favorite.
Thank you very much.
It surpassed Harry Potter so far beyond. I didn't think that was possible.
Awesome, thank you very much. That makes me feel good as I sit here in my Slytherin tank top.
So my question is, I did see some sort of tweet from you saying there was a possibility of a series coming up, a television adaptation of the Dresden Files.
Yes.
Is there any sort of things that you have going on to make sure that it doesn't get season 8 Game of Thrones?
No, absolutely nothing. I mean, the best you can do is to say, listen, there's somebody that I know in Hollywood that has the appropriate skills and education to be doing this job, and also happens to be somebody who's been a beta reader for me for a long time, and I want them on, and they're like, okay, well that's a reasonable thing to do. And I don't want to be an executive producer myself. I want to have access to the writer's room, and they say, okay, yeah, that's good, and that's about as far as I can go. I don't have the money to make even one episode of TV happen. I couldn't do a feature-length, I couldn't really do a full Hollywood feature-length trailer if I spent all the money I'd ever earned. That's big stuff. You gotta have some serious juice behind you to get those things done. But I'm going to do everything I can, and that's going to be amounting to showing up and doing everything I can to make sure that the writing is solid, and then showing up and just trying to be the guy that helps, think of ways around problems. Hopefully I can do that in a useful fashion. That would be great.
I just want to thank you for that, because I really love the series.
Oh, thank you. Hello.
Hi. I love your hair. It's really cool.
Thank you.
I was just wondering.
Yeah, I'm married into the fake court, so it's a sign.
So it was marriage. It wasn't like you swore. You didn't swear fealty to that or something.
Oh no, I got married. No, I don't want to talk about any deals Kitty may or may not have. The very supernatural entities. That's family business. I'm not going to bring that up with all y'all. But yeah, I got it for the wedding, and I thought, I like blue. And that was about my thought process. So here it is.
Was the Spanish flu a cover explanation or just an actual side effect of the necromancy being done by Nintendo?
Oh, you're clever, aren't you? I like you. That's my answer.
This question is from one of my friends who couldn't make it to DragonCon this year.
Okay.
Does the White Court have any way to compensate or make exceptions for wizards or any magic user with special needs?
Well, what do you mean?
Either they can't physically move their bodies, or
I mean, if a White Court vampire really wants to get to you, they just got to get you alone for a bit and be able to touch you. I mean, that's all that really amounts to. But I mean, there's this whole issue with White Court vampires and wizards, but we haven't gotten to that. Oh, it's like heroin.
Are there characters you've written for the Dresden Files that didn't make it into the books, and so who were they and why'd you axe them?
There's only one one character I wrote for the Dresden Files that didn't make it into the books, and he made it in, but only sort of in the background. In Grave Peril, Harry and Carter LaChase had this running thing where LaChase kept jumping him in the Blue Beetle, and then various bits of Volkswagen architecture that were specific to only Volkswagens kept saving Harry's life. But when my editor read it, she said it makes the book too long. You got to cut it. That was the book where the editor said, "Okay, I love this book. It's got this story and this story and this story, and I want you to expand on all 4 of these storylines." I'm like, "Great." She says, "And cut it by 50 pages." I'm like, "So make it longer and shorter." And she goes, "Yes." And her. That's the writing business.
Were there any, throughout the Dresden Files series, were there any plot points that either /you wrote /it made into the book that you personally wish you didn't have to write it that way, but knew that it was necessary for the story?
No. I mean, I guess I've never wished that I didn't have to do it that way for the sake of the story. It's the story. Whatever needs to get done, gets done. You know, whoever needs to die, dies for the story. That sounds psycho, but it's absolutely true. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have much of a problem with that. The great thing about writing is, it's your world. You get to do whatever you want. It's kind of awesome. I don't understand why more people aren't doing it. It's amazing. Hey, man.
Hey there. So Nate Bovine, he needs to cover his ears real quick. He's in my Fate Accelerated group. I don't want to give away plot points for our campaign.
Okay.
So hypothetically speaking, what effect would climate change have on the power dynamics of the summer and winter ports?
Well, it's going to depend. It's going to depend on how much of it is due to choice. Free will and human choice has an awful lot of power in the Dresden Files universe and affects things very, 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 very drastically. So, how much of it is? How much of it isn't? You know, these are huge questions, and we're just people, and not one of us lives long enough probably to get a really good answer, because it would probably take, I would think a couple thousand years of observation of the Earth might give you a good basic grasp of how it works, but it's hard to say. It wouldn't be it's warmer so summer's stronger, it's colder so winter's stronger. Summer court and winter court are much more closely tied to human emotions on the planet. The winter court's a lot better because this planet's got a lot more bad stuff on it than good stuff. Generally speaking, there's an awful lot of conflict. There's an awful lot of just struggling to survive, and that's all winter court stuff right there, baby. When you're creating art, when you're creating beauty, when you're creating culture, that feeds into the summer court. But they're there for people, so they're more attached to people than they are to the natural world.
So theoretically, if a winter court member were to kick off like a nuclear winter,
well, that would get real winter real quick, because suddenly life would be about nothing but survival and keeping your kids alive, and that's very much a winter court sort of situation. Summer is when you have a little bit more time to do other things.
Thank you.
So,
this will be our last question right here.
Do you have merchandise at your author signing later?
I will not have merchandise at my author signing later, although I will be, when I do an author signing I will be doing an author signing at Badali Jewelry. Oh yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yes.
That's a great last question to close on, man. Are you a plant? Did I plant you there?
This is a great segue, because he looked all these up and I wrote them down.
Yeah.
He has a signing immediately following this session right here.
Yeah, right after here, I'll be signing for the con in the autograph area.
And so that one's in the app, because it's the official DragonCon signing.
Yeah.
Also tomorrow, on Saturday, at 2:30 at the Dollar Jewelry, and then 5:30 at Bard's Tower.
Bard's Tower will have a bunch of my books for sale. Badali might have some books, but they'll have a lot of the cool, like, pinnacle jewelry and stuff like that they made off the series.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That one's sold out, by the way.
Oh.
Not the jewelry, the signing for Badali.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And I guess you could watch from afar, but that's about it, right? And then Sunday at 11:30 a.m.
Sunday at 11:30, I'll be at Bard's Tower, and I'll be at Bard's Tower tomorrow at 5:30.
Okay, so that was also Bard's Tower.
Yeah,
And
that's in the dealer's room. Just head straight back. It's on the right at the very back, and I'll be there. They've got lots of big, towers with pictures of authors on them, so you can find me.
What more?
First floor. The first floor of the dealer's room. The first level of the dealer's room is and you go up the escalator into that there.
So let's give Jim a round of applause.